In today's video, we are talking about a series that takes on one of the most underrated powers out there and makes it OP. Let's get into it. Hey there everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Inc. My name is Wyeth, and in today's video we are reviewing the series The Healer's Way by Oleg, Sapphire, and Alexey Kovtunov. These gentlemen, I am under the impression, are both Russian authors, and there's something to be said about Russian fantasy authors. They have a very distinct writing style, very elegant but abrupt. And we're definitely getting that here. I know abrupt has maybe a bad connotation to it, but I will say when it comes to pacing, it is a very fantastic method to use when it comes to fantasy books out there, at least in my general opinion. But enough generalizing, we're talking about the series itself, and it is phenomenal. I am a big fan of The Healer's Way for a lot of reasons, but before we jump into the pro-con-pro later on in the video, it's time to jump into the semi-spoiler-free review. When it comes down to it, the main character is now inhabiting the body of a dying aristocrat. This seems to be a very well-used trope when it comes to Russian fantasy authors, but I'm not going to knock it because there's a lot of potential here, and they definitely don't miss the mark in this series. The MC is from a different world where he was the most powerful healer on the entire planet. Over 300 years old, ran his own order, the Order of Hierophants, and he made kings come to him on their knees. He made riches appear before him just with the power of his healing touch. And in this case, you'd think, oh, that's a fantastic lifestyle. Why would you even leave and come to a different world? Well, it so happens that his brother, the king of the land, didn't very much care for how things were turning out and decided to take out his own brother. Without trying to retaliate, he decides the best way to get out of the situation is to come to a completely different world. Whereas he wanted to come with his soul, his own body, and his powers already impeccable, there were some complications along the line, and now he's taken over the body of an aristocrat who's been imprisoned. Now, the main character's goal is to escape his prison and try to build back his reputation to where it once was, whether that is dealing with the fellow aristocrats that might look down on him for his less than ideal noble birth, whether that's them looking down on him for being a healer, but they are going to find out that being a healer is one of the most powerful gifts you can have when you use it correctly. And yes, I do mean offensive healing. So I hope that was enough information to kind of grab y'all's interest, but now we are going to go ahead and jump into the pro-con-pro and give you a couple more reasons why you may or may not want to pick this series up. The first pro is definitely going to be Mikhail's mentality. And actually here, you might be thinking, I mean competence, and yes, the main character definitely is competent, and I definitely throw that pro around a lot on this channel, but that's not what I mean here. Mikhail has the ability to kind of have a very fun outlook on this new life that's been set in front of him. He's making jokes, he's making quips, he's having fun while doing deeds that need to get done. Some would say unsavory, and I think they'd be correct there. But at the same time, his demeanor really never changes from this light-hearted experience he's having. And you can think about it another way. He's basically playing this new life on easy mode, seeing that he's had all this knowledge from his previous life and he's putting it to good use. So having a main character that is having fun while still in pretty serious pickles on occasion, it definitely makes the reading experience more enjoyable. Jumping over to the first and only con for this series, at least in my opinion, and that is the length of the books. Thankfully though, as of my knowledge, there are 14 books out there, but to give y'all a general understanding, each book is under about 100,000 words, which equates to about 10 hours of listening time. So these are, I would consider them to be light novels. So if you do plan on picking the series up, it is going to be an investment. You're either going to wait on your Audible credit every single month and eventually you'll get the series done within a year, or you're going to need to bite the bullet and buy more credits. Yes, it is on Kindle, of course, so I believe that's much more cheaper than an Audible production credit would be, but it is quite an investment. Not to say it's not worth it. I think myself, I'm on book 6 or 7, and I've been very much enjoying the work so far, but at the same time, I go through books quite quickly. So I picked up this series earlier this week, and I'm already, I think, $60 into it. So it is something to consider before grabbing this one. Now, the second and last pro that I'm going to speak on about this series is the offensive healing. Yes, I've kind of touched on it earlier on in the video, but it is so cool. For example, how I was saying, the character has fun with this new life of his. If he has a good interaction with someone on the street, he might just randomly cure their arthritis. But let's say someone's rude to him. He will make sure that that person has a very luscious mustache and she will be incredibly appreciative of it. So the man definitely has the ability to really tweak anything about the human body, whether that be increasing endorphins, whether that be making sure minor injuries or major injuries are healed, regrowing the limbs, making sure that the blood flow in their carotid artery is no longer pumping as well as it should. Offensive healing, when it's put in this context, as you can imagine, can be very, very dangerous. And he makes points that in this new world, healers are very much looked down upon. But on his old world, very much thanks to probably his own reputation, they were very much viewed as the top dogs on the street. And having read a few of the books so far, I can only agree. So it is a phenomenal power that's often underrated, that's really getting its chance to shine in this series. Now we're going to go ahead and jump to the deep dive where I'm talking about the spoilers, some things that I've noticed that I think need to be addressed, good things, I would say. So if you have read up to book 6, feel free to join me in the deep dive, and if not, I do appreciate everyone's time. I would have to say, one of the most interesting things about this series that at least has popped out to me is the antagonists, and it's not what I would expect when reading a fantasy novel. For our main character, Mikhail, as of book 6, he is basically in multiple battles on all sides. His new family, the Bolotovs, that he's kind of taken command of, are at war with all the aristocrats in his rural region, and they are out for blood, willing to do whatever it takes to take him out and make sure that this family crumbles. And you'd think, okay, completely understandable, that is a great concept for a fantasy series. But on the back end, we also have this whole B antagonist plot of the off-worlders coming into this new world to try to kidnap people, to take things over, steal technology, and all this, that, and the other. And it definitely makes me think, what is the bigger threat on the grand scale? Is it a few aristocrats trying to take down his family, or is it the incursion of his new planet? And Mikhail really focuses on the aristocrats, which at the same time are the probably more immediate threat to him and his family, but I would argue probably not the most important one. At the end of the day, they are all on the same planet, and by Mikhail killing off his enemies, or really doing them disservice, stealing their equipment, he is almost weakening his own side when compared to these off-worlders coming into his region of Russia, I do believe, and taking control of the land and, like I said, stealing people and technology. And yes, the incursions are getting more and more frequent. He himself has been through 4, if I'm not mistaken. So even with that, though, he had mentioned he doesn't always know how they're going to go. Each one is different. And yes, he kind of makes jaunts over into this other world where he is stealing mages, specifically earth mages. He's buying artifacts from merchants that really don't want to sell to him, but really have no other choice. And he's kind of playing this side of the story off as really no big deal. And comparatively to him and his own experience, he's probably right. But I just think it's an interesting writing choice that's, when it comes to these two enemies on a grand scale, one is very much reduced in the importance of needing to be taken care of. And it's not the one I would usually pick. So I think that it's a very interesting concept. When it comes to predictions for, heck, the next 8 books, let alone the end of the series, I am at a loss. I understand that Mikhail's main goal is to recapture his territory, his belongings that were taken from the Bolotov family before he kind of entered the picture. But he could go so much further. Whether he wants to take on the Russian royals or really kind of close off his own little fiefdom, I have no idea. I'm interested in seeing what will happen when the capital aristocrats start to put their eyes on him, because he's growing in power. That seems to be one of the big things as well. Even though we are in book 6, all of his enemies are consistently underrepresenting his power and really not giving him his due after he's really done the impossible time and time again. So we'll see if that theme kind of continues on in future books, or if everyone really understands that they have no idea what his capabilities are. And even as a reader, having been through the series so far, I can't say where his power really truly ends. I am very much looking forward to seeing how this series plays on out. And another element of that, there is a slow burn romance. And when I say slow burn, I mean the slowest of burns. It seems that he and Vika are both under the impression that they are fiancés with each other, yet Mikhail has really not brought up his desire to pursue it, other than maybe a few offhand comments wanting to build a family of his own on this new world. And it seems that Vika is almost embarrassed to take things further. So I'm interested to seeing how the authors are going to tackle that, whether in one book they will just pronounce their feelings for one another, or if we will be on book 12, 13, 14, and they are still just kind of living together in the same estate. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. I'm a big fan of Vika. Necromancy is a wonderful power set that would pair well with his healing ways. So if they were to start a family, it would be a dynasty in the making. Now, when it comes down to offensive healing, I have a new respect for this power set, and I might, if I play any more RPGs in the near future, be going as the healer just to see what the capabilities are, and hoping that some video games out there might actually allow some offensive healing just in general and not just stat boosting. But at the end of the day, we will see if the video games are able to take notes from this phenomenal series right here. I am in love with it so far. I hope y'all are as well. Feel free to jump in the comments, tell me your thoughts, your predictions for the future. Be sure to put a spoiler warning there if you do not mind. With all that said, I do appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you so much for checking this video out. So with that said, be sure to keep reading.